Can you all see the campus improvement plan and everything? Can you see all that? Okay, cool. And I think both of you might be muted. And then we will wait one more second. I think Bernice is coming, so we'll see if she shows up. And if not, we will just rock and roll. Oh, there we go. Is that you, Bernice? Are you E078380?
Yeah, I don't know
Okay.
why it like tells on me like that.
Yeah.
No, it's me.
Cool. In the interest of time, we can go ahead and get started. I don't want to keep anybody too late. Um, we are just like to tell you what we're doing. We're doing a PLC, so we're essentially doing like a data review, going to look through our campus improvement plan, and then this is what I'm doing is part of becoming certified as an admin is I have to put together these two like portfolio things. So for this, I'm putting together a list of professional development needs. So give me one second. I got a kid who's here to pick up his ID. 15 seconds. I'm not. Doesn't work. So I have to generate a list of professional development needs that we see. So we're going to look at just data in the campus improvement plan. And then the goal is to talk about good data and how to keep it good. And then if we see bad data, like how we could improve it, specifically through giving professional development to teachers. So I got another kid knocking on my door. For one second, just think about what you know about the campus improvement plan, like if you know what it is and kind of what it does. Be right back again.
I know zero about the campus improvement plan,
Same.
so that's what I've got to offer.
Same.
Right, just building some suspense. Do y'all know what the campus improvement plan is? This is like I'm on that CPOC committee thing, so this is what they have me doing. Campus improvement plan is like so we have a meeting with stakeholders, they're like business partners, some of them are parents, and then we meet with admin and teachers, and then our campus improvement plan is like our goals for the campus, and some of them come from the district, and some of them like we set individually. So when you do your data dig with Kelly and Lauren or whoever earlier in the year, and you come up with like your English 1 reading and writing goal, that's in this plan. And then there's other plans. So you all can see this. Okay. So as we go through, like you all, I emailed this to you yesterday, so you're welcome to pull it up and kind of like explore it alongside me, or I can kind of walk us through it. But like any data that you see, so like there's data right here, there's data all over the place. You can comment on it. You can ask questions about it. The whole goal is just to look at data and think about how, like, what do we need to learn and get better at as staff. So when we look at like some of our first goals, like it starts by talking about strengths. And so like we could talk about some of these. For example, we'll use one we're more familiar with. These are like English 1 and 2 strengths. And so we talked about these as teams earlier in the year. But that one, for example, in the master's category, English 1 students met or exceeded our targets in the following sub-pops: African American, white, eco, dis, and at risk. So we could talk about like professional development we could do to keep like that going well. Or for example, like English 2 strengths in the approaches category, we do this and this and this and this. I think it's a little more beneficial to talk about where we need to get better rather than like why we're already doing well. So when we look down here, there's the last thing I'll say about like things going well, but they have a lot of data in here. Like all of the following exams had a passing rate above the national average by the indicated percentage. So in terms of like national percentages, music theory were like way above average. English language and composition were like not super above average, but still above national average. Literature and composition were better than language and composition. Spanish literature and composition way up there, calculus and so on and so on and so on and so on. But again, those are all like strengths. Those are all good things where we're well above average. So I'd probably want to talk about some of this down here where we get to problem statements, if you all can see that okay. And I think we could probably start with your all's problem statement for English 1. So that would be you have a problem statement for English 1 reading, and then down here you have one for writing. And we don't necessarily have to focus on any particular subpop. We can talk about like all groups or whatever. But the problem statement that you all came up with as a team earlier in the year was that guy right there. In English 1, African American students are underperforming in our meets and masters categories. We need to engage our African American students in reading so that we can build their capacity to analyze a variety of texts. So I think I would probably want professional development on like text selection. Like I struggle to come up with like I have a good idea of like a good story or a good text, but I don't necessarily know how to like fit that to students. Um,
Yeah, except I feel like text selection is above our pay grade. Like by the time it gets down to us, they're already chosen. We're pretty limited.
that is absolutely fair. And they change it too. Like we were talking in our team recently, they changed some of our text selections where like Animal Farm was sophomore text this year, but next year it's going to freshmen. So like it gets changed quite a bit. And
Yeah.
that is like that's not a decision that we necessarily I think we have more control over things like short stories, excerpts, things like that, whereas we're a little limited. But I would want some professional development on like how to find better text or how to if there's any like search engines or libraries or databases out there where you can find text that would fit some of these student, what would be the best thing to read for some of our EcoDis students, or what would be the best thing to read for some of our at-risk students and things like that. Do you all pick your own texts often, or is that more something that Megan does? Do you all do it collaborative? Like in English 1, did you all say this is what we want to study this year?
I wasn't there for that, but I know when I was on the junior team, sometimes we were frustrated because it was like we always do Fahrenheit, and then somebody said, "Well, no, fresh or sophomores are doing Fahrenheit." Like I feel like there needs to be more, I don't know what that's called, but like scaffolded communication where we make sure we're not stepping on each other's toes. Like I know Bridget read Fahrenheit this year.
Yeah.
So she can't read it again in junior year. I mean, she can, but that's redundant. Why would you make a kid read the same book 2 years in a row?
Yeah, and I have kids coming from other schools who say that they've already read some of the books, even like in middle school, like they're reading the books that my sophomores read back in 8th grade. So yeah, I think we could use some PD on like vertical alignment or getting people talking across campuses, across grade levels. It does feel a little like isolated
Yeah.
right now.
The other thing about alignment that I like is like sometimes you're teaching something and a kid will say, "Well, we just did that in history." I would love to have known that or
Yeah,
to do a little bit of like cross-subject collaboration where it's like, hold on a second, if you're studying the Holocaust in history and we're reading Night, there's so much opportunity there
yeah,
for, to make it a more interesting to them as opposed to in isolation. We
yeah. No,
can't exist independently of other departments.
I think that's really good for like engagement too. I thought about doing it with my creative writing students this year because they wrote screenplays or like theatrical plays, and I thought it'd be cool to partner with the theater department, like Colleen down there, and kind of have them maybe go down there and act them out or have access to the stage. But yeah, um, I feel like there was some overlap between a history thing and an English thing we did earlier this year, and
Was it
then
Triangle? Was that the one there was a big overlap
maybe.
with the shirtwaist fire something something?
Hmm. And then
Um,
go ahead,
oh,
Casey.
sorry.
No,
I
go
was
ahead.
gonna just say something that I would like PD on, would be something that has to do with building stamina. Um,
Mm.
when they come in as ninth graders, we recently learned that in eighth grade they don't read whole novels as a class.
Oh,
They
wow.
have like a choice unit where they can choose a novel and then they
Hmm.
read it. Um, and we really struggle with kids like having the stamina to really read something from beginning to end, but then to even like comprehend and take away, like being able to comprehend what they just read and tell me what they just read, like
Hmm.
that is a huge struggle.
Mhm.
So I would like to learn how to help build those skills. Um, and I don't know what that looks like next
How,
year, but
how to build
that
the
would be
reading
great to
stamina
learn how
skills.
to add that in.
Yeah. Yeah, because we I feel like that gets grouped a little bit. Like it's a skill that fell by the wayside a little, so I almost want to make it part of like almost like a bridge class or something, but like it belongs, it feels,
But it needs to happen for every ninth grader.
yeah, it's kind of like
Yeah.
remedial where next year they're talking about bringing back the whole, oh gosh, I can't remember the name of it, advisory or something like that, where you got the 20 minutes at the end of second period. So that might be a good time to be able to work that in.
Yeah.
Um, and then what about you, Vernice? Have you noticed anything as far as where you might need some professional development to help some of your students who are struggling with their reading or writing?
Right. Well, I was just gonna kind of piggyback off of what Casey said. Yeah, when we found out that the eighth graders had choice, we also found out that they they weren't really tracked.
Mm,
So who knows if they really like took that reading seriously, you know what I mean? So no, I would also like strategies on how to, I guess, motivate them more because they'll come in and they're always already boggled down to know that they have to read.
hmm.
Um, it's a skill sometimes that I do see enhance in the middle of the year because they know what is expected at that point. But yeah, the motivating them, getting them on board to read and excited about reading is definitely one thing I think we all need because it's hard. It's hard.
Yeah, just training on like engagement strategies because we're talking about that this time of year as well, like grades dropping, engagement dropping, like the kids are just checking out, the performance on some of our recent projects. And so just keeping them engaged, like I think every teacher could probably benefit from engagement training,
Yeah, that's
just
true.
like how to make
Yeah.
the learning more
At some
interesting.
at some point in time, you're it would be nice to have maybe like a toolkit of when things have gone awry and you don't know how to get them
Yeah.
back.
Yeah.
When there's a ton of apathy, what can you do? PD on that would be great too.
Yeah, I think maybe some PD on like discussing transferability, like how what they're doing in school could be used in the real world. Like I try to do
Hmm.
that in class a lot when we do like
Yeah.
a daily learning objective or little things, or I'm introducing like a new topic. Like I always try to talk about how it transfers and how they can use it. But I
Hmm.
don't know that I'm putting it in terms that they understand because they don't have like jobs yet or they do, but not.
It's also hard specifically as an English teacher when the expectations are so high for your students and
Yeah.
the content is so hard for them. So it's really hard to feel like you are able to take the time to do those things when you've got skills that need to be mastered.
Hmm. Um, this might be a good data point moving just like away from English because there's lots of stuff in here we can talk about that's not necessarily in our wheelhouse, but this one is about like staff retention recruitment. I don't know can you all see the text? Like, is the text big enough for y'all to read? Okay. This one's about like teacher and paraprofessional attendance. So our top priority is to improve teacher attendance, and then they talk about like root cause, like why. it's low. Says we need to continue to make Cypress Woods High School an enjoyable place to work by providing all faculty members the opportunity to build community and camaraderie, grow professionally through personalized PD opportunities. Um, I wouldn't mind like some professional development on how to just like collaborate with other departments more, or even like work together more as a whole department. I feel like we're all in our own little teams, and there's not a whole lot of, I couldn't name 10 teachers outside the English department, you know? So,
Yeah, and as much as I hate having to go to IEP meetings and stuff like that, I love it when you get in a room with a bunch of other teachers who have the same student
yeah,
and you realize it's not just you,
yeah,
right? Either the kid is exceptional at something, or yes, they consistently don't hand in work for me too.
yeah,
And it's kind of reassuring that you're not alone. And it would be nice to be able to collaborate in that regard with other teachers, not just on a student by student base, but you know, boy, this group of 10th graders is really interesting, or
yeah,
man, they suck, or whatever. Like just a little more communication that way, department to department, or even like vertically. Like, oh, I had that kid last year. Here's a good idea for dealing with him. Or don't bother calling his dad, call his mom instead.
yeah.
It's like that.
Yeah, maybe some professional development on like our staffing meetings. I don't know if you all have had a staffing meeting. I had one for typically for like students who are struggling or need intervention, but I went to a staffing meeting and I hadn't been to one and I didn't really know what to do. So I just kind of like just talked about what I noticed with the kid. But like the goal is to solve the problem. So maybe some development on like I don't even know what methods are available to us beyond send them to a principal, or like, you know, I don't know. They can create specialized behavioral plans for students, but I don't know anything about that or how far it could
Well,
reach.
with that being said, there's definitely like, you're correct in that I don't have a clue what I'm supposed to do in those meetings. Like,
Right.
it would be
I
nice to have maybe like, you know, how they have the one pagers for
Yes.
teaching strategies. Like,
Yeah.
give me a one pager for how I can be best prepared for um a staffing or an IEP. And maybe they could even have um like a little like syllabus, or not a,
Mhm.
yeah, maybe I don't know the word I'm thinking of, but where it says like this means that this is the problem that we're addressing. Or like, you know, where I know what I'm supposed to be, the problem that is going to be addressed. Because sometimes you go in there and you're like, well, did they get sent to ALC? Are they like, I don't, is it a problem in class? Like, I don't have a clue what's
Mhm.
going
Yeah.
on.
And like for me, I don't know. I don't know how you guys have experienced it, but there's been a few times where I will contact like the counselor or the AP, and I'll even address, hey, I believe that there should be a staffing, and I even say, not sure how the process works.
Mhm.
And at times I don't hear back. And I think that's something that is important, obviously, to hear back because you're concerned for the child. But I mean, hey, I get it. We have a student body of 4,000 plus. So it's difficult, you know. But just I guess having a how to manage maybe at-risk students, right? How to begin the
Yeah.
process.
And
That's I
how
think
we
we're
can
all
best communicate as an
right.
entire school with all the different positions and types of people that we have, like
Yeah.
Yeah.
how we can best communicate to help those kiddos.
I think Christina Hoover would be good for that one because I think she does the whole at-risk thing and she like tracks those kids and so on. But I don't necessarily know much about what's going on. And
Well, yeah, and even like sometimes you phone home and the teacher or the parent will say, well, you're the third teacher who's called me. I already know.
yeah,
Mm.
Sorry, I didn't know that everybody else had already called you. Like if there was a, I don't know, like a landing page or something where you could collaborate with other teachers about a student before everybody bombards the parent with, or that it could be a hierarchy, like we collaborate and then it goes to their counselor and then their counselor makes the phone call, if it's consistent across subject matter.
yeah. Just share.
Savannah Darko, please come to the AP office if you are on campus. Savannah, please come to the AP office. Thank you.
Yeah, like some shared documentation or like a linear step by step. I had a comment a minute ago about like what happens with certain students. The principal's office has I was in there shadowing one day and they have like a booklet, like a pamphlet that's like if the student does this like breaks this school rule or violates this or whatever, then here's what happens. Like they have a code of conduct printout. It's like if the student does this, here's what happens. If the student does this, here's what happens. But I don't know that I really know that. Like I don't really know student, but like I know I send students to principal office, then they come
And
back.
I find out more from other students than I do from the admin, where another kid will go, "Oh no, miss, he went to DMC," or "Oh no,
Yeah.
miss," like I don't know, maybe
Yeah,
even
there are definitely times, I mean, like you can tell who wants to be a teammate with you in those scenarios and who doesn't.
Hmm.
Because certain APs, if I contact them for whatever reason, they will follow back up with me and they
Yeah.
will let me know what happens. But that's not always the case. And so it's frustrating, especially if you have a relationship with a student, that you're trying to help them, better themselves. It's frustrating to be on the outs. And I do often feel like an outsider in those scenarios. Like I'm not privy to a lot of the information,
Yeah.
which can be frustrating and which, doesn't allow me to make the best connection or make the best decisions with a student with that lack of information.
yeah.
It's funny y'all mention that because I actually have a class of two students who were like in DMC today, and I didn't realize that there was an altercation between the two. I was never notified, right? That I was. Can y'all hear me? I'm so sorry.
Yeah. No, you're
I've
good.
never notified, right? I mean, they're not here today, but I mean, my students told me, like you said, I get follow up from my students, and not that it's my business completely, but at least address it just like how we have to put in the educator's handbook situations and we're very detailed about something that happens. I feel like we also should have that implemented in the educator's handbook, not
Mhm.
like with full on details, but the details we do need that are necessary.
I would like to know a little bit better about how to like modify stuff for those DMC assignments because Mr. Goff, like he requests them, but I sometimes like I just don't have anything ready and prepared on such short notice to like modify it and change it to where it even functions. Because like a group thing or something that was designed to be like some discussion or something, but they're in there and they're supposed to be quiet, and I don't necessarily know like what their guidelines are in DMC or how much flexibility they have when it comes to completing assignments. So I'd like to like understand what it's like better and maybe
Hmm.
just be able to like sit down with Melvin and just kind of like talk about like what do you see with the students in there and like how much do they even work? Are they willing to work? And just
Well, and some
understand
kids
like
say
the
they
whole,
like going to DMC because they can get their work done.
yeah. Yeah.
Or not even that.
Study hall.
Some just don't get the work done.
Yeah.
I feel bad for Melvin at times because he'll be running around the school seeking us out for
Hmm.
their work. And I think where it comes to like our quality and retention, it could be helpful to have more organization behind the scenes on the process of how to get things done efficiently, where we're all able to communicate with one another, not take too much time from our day since we have so much to do. But there's just things that are cracking. Like water gets through and we
Hmm.
let it flood, you know?
Yeah. A huge issue with teacher retention is like feeling unsupported or like you can't do anything or like you reach out to administration, nothing necessarily gets accomplished. But I think if I better understood admin's side of things, like where their hands are tied, what they can do, what they can't do, like because sometimes to us it feels like we've sent this kid over and over again, like my friend Brody that has been down there, and last year I like had a lot of frustration because nothing was ever changing, but I didn't necessarily ever get a chance to understand with Gutierrez like what he had been doing and like what his options were and why he couldn't do more and where his limitations were, I guess. So like clearer communication on just some of that side of things would help avoid feelings of frustration, I guess. All right, we've got about 10 minutes left. Let's see if we can. We talked family and community engagement last time, so we'll probably skip over that one. And then stop me if you all see like anything that stands out to you. There's so much data in this thing we could talk about, whatever. Um, okay, we'll look at some of our goals down here. This is probably a good one. District goal number 2, the percentage of students with the necessary skills and knowledge to succeed in their chosen post-secondary path will increase from 65% to 80% by 2029. So that's like a lofty goal for like years from now, but it requires us to know like if we're equipping students for the future in their secondary careers. So I would like to understand like a little bit. I can tell kids why English is important, but I don't necessarily know how to tell them how they'll use English if they're going to be a doctor or if they're going to be whatever. So like maybe some professional development again on transferability, like I was saying earlier, and just how do you convince kids that what we're doing in class is meaningful, and how do you have conversations about if they're actually ready for the quote unquote real world? Um,
I agree. I feel like that goal statement though is so vague.
I think
So
it's a
when
little
I
vague
read
too.
it, right, when I read it, I'm post-secondary path. I feel like that's another another expectation of us and having to have that knowledge of what that even means
Mhm.
because everybody's post-secondary path is different, you know? Um, so yeah, that's what I have to say about that.
Talks about down here, the number of students who earn an industry certification will increase by 2%. I don't know what industry certification students can earn through the school. I don't know what those tests look like to get certified. I don't know if there's a part I could play in helping with those. So I'd like to know more about our industry certifications. The school I came from, the high school I came from, paired with a school called Prosser, which was all about trade certifications, and students would leave our building and go over there for half a day and take like pure mechanic classes or nursing classes or whatever. So it was like super organized. But here I don't necessarily know, like we have welding or something, and I don't know. So it might help. You all are freshmen teachers, so it'd probably be good for you all to know a little bit more about that so you could maybe steer kids into those a little bit.
It would
Um,
be nice, especially since the counselors come into our class every spring and have the
mhm.
kids fill out their course choices for next year, and none of us know anything. So it would
That,
be very nice to know
yes, no, that
so
is
that we could
great.
answer those questions.
Yeah, because
You
I
know,
just
and
stand
this is very basic, but even like a tour of the school. There's
there. Mhm.
places in this school
Yeah.
that I still don't even know where the heck it is.
Yeah.
Like I've never been backstage in the auditorium. I don't like unless you and I'm lucky because I've been a sub. I've subbed in like auto tech and stuff. But if
Yeah.
you've never explored the school, like it'd be fun to just explore the school. In Pace, they get to do a scavenger hunt where they go around to all the different areas of the building and stuff.
Yeah.
You know, like I'd like to see what the locker rooms look like. I've never been in the locker rooms. Like that's a pretty basic thing, but just knowing where stuff is in the building.
Yeah.
I think that's an excellent point that you made. Like for PD, when we have like maybe 30 minutes, we all go on a staff scavenger hunt and make it fun. You know what I mean? So that we know where things are at. There's times, hey, where do I go for this? And I tell the student, I'm so sorry, I don't know. And I feel
Mhm.
bad. I do.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
would be fun too, because something that some of my coworkers have mentioned before is, that overall, like the kids have kind of lost the culture of high school. Like they don't have the like rah 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 for their school anymore
Mm.
because they're so in their phones. And part of me has wondered like if we as a staff would be able to like set an example for that. But doing things like that, like we got into teams. I mean, I know that they try to do that for staff unity or whatever.
Mhm.
Um, but I don't know. That
I
one sounds more
agree.
fun than
I
what they've
agree.
been doing. I don't know. I'm not trying to be judgmental or anything, but some of the stuff they do, it's just like, I don't got time for that.
I feel a little bit behind the scenes when it does come to like the pep rallies and stuff. From what I remember, I mean, maybe I'm the student. I remember like the entire freshman class or junior class and classes had different periods where they'd go attend something
Yeah,
for
because
something
we as
major.
teachers can't go. So
Yeah,
we don't get to in on any of the fun.
exactly. And I feel like now it's kind of more of a like incentive of purchase, if that makes
That
sense.
it feels like they're just trying to make money,
Exactly,
personally.
because we
I'm
have
not
these
trying to turn this into event sesh, but yeah, that's what
right,
it feels like. It's
right.
not for school spirit.
Exactly. So that's where we're lost on that. So that's something to think about.
Probably our last topic. I don't want to keep you all. This one's about like safety which I think is a pretty decent topic because like I kind of understand fire drills, but we don't, we do like drills, but there's certain situations where I don't necessarily know. So like this goal overall just says this right here. By the end of the current school year, 100% of the district's safety policies will be implemented. Again, kind of vague. It details them down here a little bit. So it talks about faculty and staff will actively supervise students in the classrooms, hallways, restrooms, and commons. Um, I wouldn't mind some professional development on, I guess, handling different situations with students. Like I bump into students out in the hallway, um, and so I've seen certain times administrators will talk to a kid who's not where they're supposed to be, and they'll say, just go back to class. Other times they'll escort them. Other times, so maybe a little training on just interacting with students out in the hallway.
I agree. I also feel like because I've done like after school programs and youth programs and things, like our fire drill, like I feel like sometimes it should be modeled to us. Like whenever we leave, we should probably be the last ones behind our students, making sure everyone's out the door, right? And then being more strict with our students, like make sure this person's in lead. And I feel like there should be more of a protocol for it. It's just let's all go and let's all run like like a zoo outside.
Mhm. Yeah, and then we have I'd like a little more training on certain things. So like they say that there's like five of the lockdown buttons or whatever around the school. It's like part of our training before the start of the year, but it's not hands-on. We don't ever get a tour of where they are. It's just like in the video. So like I don't know, some of the options, like I couldn't tell you where my closest fire extinguisher is or little things like that. Um we get into time, so like it's 3:16. If y'all gotta go, like get out of here, run while you can, you know.
Thank you for inviting me.
This is the last one, I promise. Y'all are literally
It's
rock
good.
stars for helping me with these. I appreciate
It's
y'all. You
good.
don't even know.
I always take something away from
Uh,
it, so I'm happy to help.
yeah.
Same. Okay, bye, you guys. I gotta go.
Bye. See
Adios,
ya.
bye. See ya.
So this video was a PLC that I conducted with other members of the English 1 team at Cypress Woods High School. The other teachers included Vernice Yancey, Casey Watts, and Patty Leonard. In terms of my reflection for um, the PLC and how it was led and what could have been improved, I would say that um, it was a little um, unfocused at times. I would say that there were some chances there to um, maybe not make it so exploratory. The goal with doing that is that we just get good, authentic look at the data, and we're not really like I don't want to like guide it too much or push it toward any talking points that seem like they're just the data that I want to talk about. And I think part of the purpose of having other people in the PLC is that you get to hear voices um, and get a look at things that you might not have picked up on. I do think that if I were to do a PLC like that, it would have been more beneficial to bring in some outside voices. Um, and I just mean outside the English 1 team. So even other English levels or other members from other teams. I could have brought in some like the PACE teachers, could have brought in some administrators, could have brought in um, maybe even some of the stakeholders that are present at some of the campus improvement meetings. But uh, but I wanted to um, get a chance to talk with teachers specifically. I just felt like they would have good insights, and I feel like as an administrator, they'll be the number one group that I'll be helping to support with data. We do these types of data digs at my school often, to where admin or instructional coaches, director of instruction will go through parts of the plan with us as part of our campus improvement plan committee. We have data digs regularly, so I was trying to emulate that process and what it would be like to just sit down with a specific team and talk about their perspective on things. But if I were to do it again, I would probably make it more of a collaborative process across multiple types of staff.